Welcome to another episode of the M365 FM podcast. Today, I'm joined by someone who has spent years helping people actually get value from technology instead of just talking about it. My guest is Jess Stratton, Microsoft MVP, TEDx speaker, founder of Nerd Girl Jazz LLC, author of the Copilot for Microsoft 365, harness the power of generation AI and Microsoft apps, use every day, and one of the most recognized Microsoft 365 trainers. Millions of learners have watched her courses on LinkedIn. Learning organizations ranking from university to healthcare providers have trust her training, and she is focused on one of the biggest challenges in AI. How do you make Microsoft Copilot work for you, not just generate AI content? Today, we are going beyond prompt engineering, talk about personalization, adaptation, productivity, and why the future belongs to people who know how to collaborate with AI instead of simply using it. Yeah, Jess, welcome to the M365 FM.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's definitely a long-winded intro. I need to shorten that a bit. I'm gonna work on that. I'm gonna see what Copilot can come up with for me.
Yeah. I think you are really famous on LinkedIn, but for the people who didn't know you, who is Jess and what's your journey in through the Microsoft technology?
Yeah, so I was a senior staff instructor with LinkedIn Learning, and that just opened up doors to me. I started doing courses in PowerPoint and, all the Microsoft 365 suite, and just because LinkedIn Learning, it's so, integrated with companies, everybody's on it, we're in with LinkedIn. We need to be very current. So I was so lucky, and it gave me all these great opportunities to really force me to learn everything new and make sure I could keep up, stay one step ahead of everything. And that's been a journey. So when Copilot came out, we were trying to learn it really quickly. So I've just become good at being agile, right? Keeping up with things and getting the courses updated. And over time, it was really hard because we had to learn how to add new features into these courses where at the same time grow with the changing needs of people and shorter attention spans. So it's almost like, you know, teach more, but also at the same time make the course shorter. So we just had to learn how to be really efficient in that. And it just kind of grew from there. Now I'm on my own. I'm doing contract courses with LinkedIn Learning. I'm trying to create some more of my own courses and just keep up with Copilot, which is, as you know, a full-time job in itself.
Yeah. I know what is content creator. um, and I think you are the first guest that's the most are MVPs, but you are also the LinkedIn. How it's called LinkedIn Learning Instructor. How did you become a LinkedIn Learning Instructor?
So, it was actually quite funny. I was, on my own as an independent developer and administrator for Lotus Notes. So this is, like, going way back, like, last century, as weird as that sounds, and, I was doing the conference circuit there, speaking at a lot of conferences and just networking, and this is kind of a testament to how important it really is to just network and meet people, which is one of the reasons why I'm super excited that I'm an actual Microsoft MVP now. I get to meet unbelievable people and continue that networking. But what happened is LinkedIn Learning, at the time they were called lynda.com, and they were much smaller than hadn't yet been purchased. And I was approached by somebody who said, "Hey, so we're trying to get um, a customer and we don't have anything on our courses about Lotus Notes. And, I've talked to certain people at IBM and they say that you're the person to go to." So it was fantastic. So I did a course for them, and at the time, apparently the benchmark for quality was really low because I just handed everything in on time. And then they were like, I did a course on Outlook, and then they were like, "Hey, will you work full time for us?" So it was great. That was all she wrote. And then I just started just cranking out courses and having a great time and learning all sorts of new technologies.
Awesome. So yeah, that's really interesting. But yeah, how will you say have has teaching changed funds generative AI out there?
It's changed in that we have to kind of more of what I was talking about before. We have to find ways to teach people in a much shorter amount of time, a lot more information. And it's also there's so many different levels, right? So when it comes to Copilot, and I find this when I teach live in front of webinars or in person, you could take a group of 5 people, you could take a group of 200 people, and half the people will never have used it before, or will just have played around with it a little bit, or just don't fully understand what it is. And the other half are almost experts and just use it daily and can't imagine their lives without it. So it's really challenging to try to cater to everybody at every different level because there's people looking for advanced tips and there's people who are still just looking how to get started. And we need to remember that, there's a lot of people that just don't have a lot of experience with this.
Mm, yeah, I think, also companies have not, so many experience with this. I think, um, a lot of companies buy these Copilot licenses, but yeah, they struggle to see business value. Why does this happen so often?
Because a lot of the training is not just about making sure they know how to use it. And this is something that we've had to pivot a lot when we teach. Even in one of my LinkedIn learning courses right now, I'm actually recording a course right now. I'm redoing a course on learning Copilot, and it's a beginner course, but we're pivoting how we teach this course. So it was more of a here's how to use Copilot, here's how you use it in each of the courses. But now we're changing it to here's how it can help you, and here's what you can do with it, and here's how you're going to get some real productivity gains with it. So it's not just a matter of saying, like, here's where all the features are, and here's how to use it. It's why you need to be using it, how it's going to really help you. So a lot of times, the mission is not the same, right? Companies need to learn that when they're trying to get people to adopt Copilot, they have to teach them how it's really gonna help them and why, and what
Mm,
kinds of cool things they can do with it.
mm. Will you say the biggest obstacle is technology, governance, or is it simply human behavior?
Uh, hu Human behavior, I think. I don't think it's quite the governance because I think that enough admins that are setting up Copilot are pretty clear on, um what needs to happen and the risks. And, most admins know, like, this is a pretty serious thing. We need to do our due diligence and learn about it. And Microsoft has a lot of safeguards in place. You can do your test runs, your pilots, you can see where you're oversharing information and you need to lock down some confidentiality and some files. Um, so I don't think that's what's happening, but I think it's really just this showing your employees what it can really do for you and how it can really help them. And I think that's where we all need to start catching up. So we're definitely learning that we need to change how we're teaching people these things. And even Microsoft, they're making it easier, right? As you know, like this this is changing daily. It's like a full-time job keeping up with the changes. And one of the new features, it's relatively new, I think, that I'm really excited about is the fact that organizations can now create custom prompt galleries,
Mhm.
right? It's right in the admin tool, it's right in Copilot. You can put in your own suggested prompts now. You can sort them out by department. So previously, when employees could go to the prompt gallery, right? That's been there right since the beginning to help us out. And you can sort them by department and by task and just to get some inspiration. But now companies can put in your own prompts specific to your own organization. And I think that it's going to be a game changer because people have and companies have very specific workflows, very specific apps. I mean, they even have their own acronyms and terminologies that they use. And now all of these things can be put in the actual prompt gallery. And it's going to give a lot of users that aha moment as to how it can help them.
Mm. I think as trainer, you have, yeah, you get I think you get a lot of feedback from users. So, what are the biggest misconceptions people have about Microsoft Copilot?
The biggest misconceptions are a lot of them tried using it early on and it was slow, right? It was clunky. It didn't always work. It was very limited in its functionality. And people are still a little bit jaded about that experience. And so I'm trying to explain to people, even in the past couple of months, it's just come leaps and bounds. It's a different co-pilot than it was, especially with the ability to choose models. Um, So one a misconception is that it just doesn't do a lot, and of course we know that's wrong, and another misconception is, I should just be able to use it right out of the box and type a prompt, and it's gonna, like, instantly finger snap do everything I want it to do, and that's really not how it works, and as you know, right, you gotta really get in there and you gotta make it work for you. You gotta get real good at writing a prompt and giving it lots of context and telling it what you want, and you have to learn that you're gonna get a better result if you can change the model from that drop down. So, it's almost like you kinda have to be a power user and to get, like, the really good benefits from Copilot.
Awesome. Um, m- if you join a company on day one, and then yeah, as their co-pilot coach, what will your first week look like?
As a Copilot well, let's see, so they're already using Copilot? That's my question
Yeah,
to you. They're
yeah,
already
yeah.
using Copilot, yeah. I would definitely, I like to get everybody on board. So my first order of business, and even as a trainer, if you're gonna do, um courses and if you're gonna do webinars, I always like to do my intro to Copilot session, and I call it the getting excited session. And even if a company said, "Hey, we've been using Copilot for a year," I would say, "Guess what? We're still gonna do this." It's that important. And it's just, I like to get everybody on the same page because you can't the company, I feel like I can't assume that everybody is on the same level. I can't assume they all know how to be responsible with their prompts. And even with things like, I'm sure with enterprise data protection, that little green shield, right? We can't assume that everybody knows what that means. A big and I'm sure you know this, a big comment is a lot of companies, people and businesses are like, "Well, why can't I use ChatGPT?" Right? You're saying I can use Copilot, but how come I can't use this other AI tool? And so I like to take them through everything, right? Here's what introduction to chatting, here's why Copilot's secure. We talk about enterprise data protection and what that gives you. We talk about, um, responsible AI, right? How you still gotta fact check, you can't leave everything up to Copilot. Here's how to write a good prompt, right? I can't even assume that people have learned Microsoft's 4 pillars, goal, context, source, expectation, all of that. They're basic to you and me, and sometimes I forget, just not everybody knows those things. So I would always like, week 1 would definitely be like boot camp, we're going back to basics and making sure everybody is on the same page.
Yeah, you become the drill instructor.
Exactly. I'm a little bit nicer, right? We're gonna try to have fun. It is called the Get Excited session, so I want people to actually enjoy using Copilot. That's the
Uh,
other goal of it. But
you say prompts. How much productivity come from prompts and or versus changing the way you actually work?
it's it's crazy. Oh, yes. And that's even such a big question because it's not even just prompts anymore, right? As you know, it's agents and it's skills. I loved one of your, podcasts and your articles about how you're talking about skills are great because AI, agents are now just kinda wasting computing power. Like, I love that. You nailed it. If you guys don't know, it's in one of the previous podcasts that Mirko did. It was great, and he's saying, like, skills are going to be the way to go.
Mm,
Right, 'cause
yeah.
you were talking about how they hold on to they don't release every single bit of resource until it knows it needs it.
Yeah, yeah, I think that becomes really, really interesting. All it's yeah, it's so fast growing. I think, and it's a little bit hard to do a course because you get I think every week we see new announcement from Microsoft.
Right, it is
um,
yeah, that affects everything, new and then you have to kind of retrain everybody. So, yeah, and agents are they're a little bit tough to teach because they're so, and I feel like skills are gonna be easier to teach because, okay, you can kinda get behind that. You can say, "Alright, I understand what this is doing, right? I get to just kind of plug in what I want." Whereas an agent, it's almost like giving somebody a piece of paper and being like, "Be creative." People need boundaries and what to do, and agents are kind of you know, how do I do it? How do I create an agent? Whereas at least with a skill, you can say, "All right, I'm in PowerPoint," you know, I know I can do this thing. It's kind of there's some boundaries that I think people need.
Also, yeah, yeah. Is there or what habits do people need to unlearn before AI can really help them?
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one. I think and I'm answering this question as me because this was something that I've had a lot of issues with, so I'm gonna assume that other people have too. Um, Especially if you're kind of a power user and you're really productive and you're really independent, sometimes you're just like, "Well, it's just easier if I do it myself." I know how to do this routine. I know how to, like, move things into folders, and I know how to create rules in Outlook. And so I think sometimes it's hard to give up that control and just let an agent do it. Now, cowork is obviously changing that because cowork can take, it can create a ballet of things that are going on, obviously. Not everybody is gonna get to use cowork. I'm still not even really teaching it yet. I'm still kind of doing catching up, teaching everybody Copilot. But at the same time, I think a big thing that everybody has to unlearn is giving up some of that control to let Copilot and to trust it and or to learn how to prompt if you're really feeling stressed about it, how to prompt some checks and balances into the output so that you can learn to trust it.
Mm, uh, do you think we also often I don't know, we like yeah, pressure old workflows in AI instead of redesigning work itself?
Yeah, that's interesting. So, here's the thing, I feel like companies have a huge opportunity in which they're getting to start fresh, right, with this Copilot thing, right? And still going back to even my days as a Lotus Notes developer, and if you I don't can't remember if you do developing or not, but so many enterprise pieces of software just start out with, "Hey, can you create this quick thing? We're only gonna use it for this one project." Right? And so you put together kind of this hack that's terrible, that's not been designed for, future expansion or scale or anything, and that sucker will get used for 10 solid years, right? Everybody will use it until it's been, like, sliced and diced and thrashed within an inch of its life. Like, this is just kind of the way it goes, and so hopefully, with Copilot, I feel like, okay, this is brand new technology, right? This is a fresh start. So let's learn how to do things right, like create tidy agents, you know, like use that prompt gallery, like make them nice, make them like clean and organized. Like don't do like hack jobs right now. I feel like we're at a crossroads whereas, okay, this is gonna leave some serious, like, enterprise clutter if it's not done right. So, I'm hoping that people treat it as a fresh start.
Yeah, yeah. I think one of the topics, yeah, I think you're passionate about is how to make co-pilots sound at yeah yourself instead of sounding like AI. Why is that so important?
Ugh, people I feel like it's especially apparent on LinkedIn. Like and I don't wanna sound like I'm obviously not ungrateful about the amount of posts there because I'm learning a lot. But it is true, like, let's face it, they're all starting to look the same, right? Everybody's posts kind of look the same, every infographic looks the same, and people are starting to get tired of it, like, you can tell there's people are starting to resent it, and when I'm scrolling, I will get those infographics and I will get those posts, and I will also see posts of people complaining about how much the posts look like everybody else's posts. And I think there's a lot of tools now in Copilot to help avoid that, right? And one of them is obviously good prompt writing and, be clear on how what you want and make it yours. But there's so many ways to avoid this now. And you can use those methods. For example, in PowerPoint, right? If you're creating infographics, if you're creating um a social media post, right? You can now put brand kits. You can specify how you want them to look every time. So if I just say, create an infographic using my brand, boom, it's going to be my colors, it's going to be my fonts, it's going to be uniquely mine. And it's so easy to take advantage of that. You can do it right in the create tool actually. That's where you can create a brand kit for yourself. And you can also do it in PowerPoint with templates, of course. So there's that, but in just about every app now, for example, Excel, you can go into the settings and you can specify how you like things to be outputted, right? So you can make it sound like you, and you can do that in Copilot. And even in Outlook now you can do that. You can tell it what your voice is going to be in those settings. So something that I like to do is a fun exercise that I like to do with people, and I actually did it in one of my LinkedIn Learning courses. I illustrated this. I'm trying to find the prompt, but it involves just going to a Copilot prompt and saying, "Look through the last 2 weeks, 10 weeks, whatever, of my send messages in Outlook and create custom instructions for me based on my voice." And it's actually really funny because I am not the most. I love writing, so I don't use Copilot a lot to help with writing, but I am sometimes not the most professional writer, like, I may put in, like, a few extra exclamation marks that I don't need, and it's very funny. It's almost like a little character study when Outlook comes back and tells you about yourself to create these rules. Like, for me, it was, exclamation marks are okay. Be in a friendly tone, and it says, "I'm citing this example where you said, 'Yay.'" It's so it is really funny. Like, it's definitely a character study in yourself. But I tested it, and I asked it to send out an email, and sure enough, like, the change was instant, like, this email sounded like me. So the tools are there. You use them. That's all I'm trying to tell everybody.
Yeah, I think, if Excel, sounds like me, it's have to done, 5 times the VLOOKUP wrong. And then it's me. Um, but what did you think, what mistakes, prevent Copilot from, yeah, producing personal results?
What mistakes do we make when we prompt, or what mistakes does Copilot make?
What we do?
I think that we're not clear enough about what we want. So, like, sometimes we'll think about it and we'll say, "Hey, I want Copilot to do this. I want it to, like, output this report for me, this executive summary for me." And then we get mad when it doesn't look right, and, well, we didn't tell it. You can expectations, that's the expectations part of that 4-pillar framework, right? There's the goal, and that's what everybody starts with, right? "Write me an executive summary." And you can give it context. You can say, like, I need to be able to read this fast, because I have a meeting coming up." All of that helps Copilot, but what we forget most often is the expectations, right? How do we want it to come out? Do you want it really verbose? Do you want it long? Do you want it professional? Do you want it in bullet points? And it's hard to tell people, and this is again part of that be creative on a blank piece of paper issue. It's hard to tell people like, "Well, you can do whatever you want. You just need to ask for it," right? So some people might forget like, "Oh, I can say like I actually just want 3 sentences," or this is for a dialogue box on the web, and you have to, I've got 500 characters. So tell me, do all of this and keep it within, 500 characters. All of those rules and boundaries, that's really helpful, and you can write all of that. So it's just we have to be good at actually identifying what we really want before we do things. So it's almost like you can take some of that extra time and just think about how it would most help you to get the result. It's not just about doing it. It's about obviously this is about making things easier for you. And it's not easier for you if you have to sit there for hours and refine it. But if you just asked for it the first time that way, exactly what you need, it's astounding how specific you can get the instructions of what you're looking for.
Mm, awesome. Yeah. Um, I I think think a little bit about personalization. How many contexts need Copilot yet to become dramatically better in answering?
That it depends on. So I used to teach, all right, it's as many as it's whatever will get you what you're looking for, right? But now it's a little more nuanced than that because you can add lots of context. I'm trying to remember how many, what is it, like 8,000 characters, something like you can make these prompts crazy. And you can go on YouTube and you can see some people prompting and their prompts are mad, like they're using up that whole thing. And some prompts are really short. And I feel like there's a happy medium right there in the middle, but it's also important that while you're giving this prompt that and I we talked about this earlier, that it's also important that you're changing the model to suit whatever task you're asking for. And that's really going to affect what you get as a result. Like it really is. So it's almost like everybody kind of has to be a power user in order to make this work really well. What I like to tell people, if you really wanna know what they're doing for you, put in your prompt, keep it on auto, and then clear the chat, change the model, and run the same prompt and just watch how vastly different it is. And sometimes it takes longer, right? But it depends. So what with to answer your question, some of those nuances are, how much time do you have to wait for the response? How important is it that this information is factually correct, obviously? What's on the line here? And all of that depends on what kind of prompt you should be and what model you should choose.
Yeah. Is there also information I never should, yeah, or never should become a part of the personalization?
So, personalization is in just about every aspect of Copilot now. And you can access them from that settings tool, but you should also check it in everything. And it's in Word, right? There's little places that you can customize everything that you do, and it's all over the place. For example, even in Teams, something that's huge is for every meeting you go into, you can customize those meeting minutes. So if you have a specific meeting and you want your output, you want your meeting minutes and your action items like in a certain way every time, you can customize that. And not only that, you can have multiple pieces of customization per meeting. So like if you just want a quick summary for your team that's super informal with action items, it'll just spit it out and you can save it. And so every week after that meeting, there it is. But at the same time, if you're also giving those to leadership and management, you can have a much more formal one, like, right next to it that you can just copy and paste and send into an email. So these little places where you can customize everything, I mean, they're kind of everywhere. And of course, the Copilot memory, you can that's something else that you can't easily see, and it's hard to remember that it's there, but if you're constantly adding the same context over and over again, right, we can just go into a Copilot chat and say, remember that I am this, right? Remember that you know, I like boldface headings, or remember that I am a computer trainer, things like that.
What did you think about personal prompt libraries and how can user build this, yeah, in a useful full way?
I love it. So, what I like to do is find, and this comes down to kind of an adoption technique, right? These managers, you know who your champions are. And I just watched a great LinkedIn Live event, and I'm gonna go look up the names of them because they were fantastic. And one of the key takeaways for me that I remember is she was saying that adoption and finding champions is not the smartest person. It's not the person that knows everything about Copilot. It's the person that's the most excited to share it with others, right? So in every department, you're going to want to find those people. There's a perfect marriage of people that use Copilot and that love sharing it. And I do find that there is that in every organization. There's always that one person that just really gets it and figures out how to help it. They've created an amazing agent already. They're kind of off to the races. And there's somebody that doesn't really know how to use it that well in their department. And so that's where the big trick is, right? You gotta take these people that are doing very similar job functions, and you gotta put them in the same room, and that's where the magic happens because they'll talk to each other about it.
Uh, Um, that's interesting. I think a little bit. Yeah, yeah. I think that's cool. But a more personal question: Have you, or can you share three of your prompts that you almost, yeah, or what you most use with kind of
Yeah,
prompts?
most of my prompts are actually just kind of trying to grow my business right now, and it's
Hmm.
amazing how much Copilot has helped me do that. For example, when I'm trying to, like I'm working on the second chapter, the second edition of the book that I'm writing for Copilot, and it's taking a very long time when 'cause Copilot, it just doesn't stand still, so, um but it's been great because a lot of times when I'll do a course online or if I'll do a chapter of my book and I include screenshots, I can then very easily take those documents and tell PowerPoint, "Use this reference document, make a presentation for this amount of people, it's this length, it's this target audience that has this level of technical knowledge, and create a presentation and include all the screenshots." And you do that, and it takes everything that was in that document, and it just makes a beautiful presentation. So, that's one area where it's really helped me. And then another area that it's really helped me is I'm kind of so I would love to hire an intern, and I'm getting ready to do that. And so a big part of my daily duties are gonna be creating things like standard operating procedures, and here's how I like to do things. And so I'm using Copilot a lot to just chat, and say, "Okay, help me create, this is where I'm struggling, so help me create some job descriptions and lists of duties." And, I can talk about how much time would be required to do all that and what level and, where can I find a paid intern, things like that. So it's been really helpful with that. And then the third way that I really love using Copilot, and as a trainer, obviously you can't use any real data, right? So one of my biggest time sinks as a trainer is creating scenarios, right? Creating these fictional people, right? And I always used to joke at LinkedIn Learning, like some of these fictional people, like I was closer friends with people that didn't exist than people in my real life, right? I had more conversations with these people. Um, so a lot of times creating these scenarios. So I can use Copilot, and especially I was so excited once Claude became built into Copilot because it just can create these fantastic documents. So I would say, create scripts for Teams conversations. You know, we have questions that need to be answered. We're a fictional company that puts on conferences. Create, and I can in my demo accounts, I can tell Copilot, like, remember that these are for training courses. Remember, this is a fictional company. And it's so good about coming up with scenarios for me. It's like, "Oh, you need to teach this? We're gonna set up this environment for you because it's gonna help you really demonstrate what you need to demonstrate that day." So,
Yeah, yeah, that's cool. For a while, I think for 2 months or so, I've built an AI prediction tool inside AI Foundry that's generated more than 1,000 companies with employees and families, and then you can ask a question. I don't know. How can I put my training course into my target group, and then all the companies and the employees are all working and discuss one another, and then you get a completely yeah, long report. It's like, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's like, what's in English? I don't know the English word for this. Market research
yeah.
tool, and
Yep.
yeah, and it's really cool what you can also build with AI actually. So yeah, this was a really funny experiment. I have used it for finding to understand how cybersecurity issues come in companies, and then it works yeah, it's really or log rank. It's I think the was 7 days it was running, and yeah, this was
Wow.
a cool project.
That was
Yeah.
awesome. It's funny because cybersecurity was, one of the examples I use. I created a presentation on cybersecurity when I was updating my course on using Copilot with PowerPoint. It's funny. It's like, "Okay, let's teach everybody that." These fictional people, that's what we're teaching them today.
Yeah. Um, I think, yeah, the most I don't know if there any product that has not a Copilot integration, but yeah, I think every product now has, I say, has a Copilot integration now. What are your favorite Copilots, or where where works Copilot best with what Microsoft products from your perspective?
I would say I'm having the best luck with Copilot with PowerPoint, and maybe that's just because that's where I spend a lot of my time. So I've just gotten to know it really well. There's a lot of nuances. I think for each product, right, whether it's Excel or PowerPoint or Word, you kind of got to know like, this is how it's going to work best, right? With Excel, there's definitely certain ways to ask it things to get the best results, right? And PowerPoint's the same way. So when you create slides in PowerPoint, sometimes people get frustrated because you go in and you try to change the slide layout and it's just a blank square. And it's like, okay, well, yes, when you create slides in PowerPoint, Copilot is 100% favoring AI. So it's just kind of placing things on the slide. It's not a real layout. But I've learned that if you have a reference document, if you're trying to create a presentation from a document, you can set yourself up for success. There's things that you can do. Like if you have a Word document, you're going to really want to make sure your header styles are all in a row, like your ducks are in a row and it's a neat document, right? You're not just bull facing titles. You have actual headers and they're nested because Copilot uses all of that. And it's best if you have, if you're trying to use Copilot to create slides that look like an existing design, all of those design elements, they need to actually be, like, baked into the slide master. It's not gonna care that you have images there, and it's not gonna care that you have objects on that slide. Unless they're actually part of the slide master, it's not gonna use them. It's just the nature of the beast, so I do love it. I feel like now that I've really gotten a handle of PowerPoint, I can create, like, really great, useful presentations right off the bat with just by answering some questions, but you just have to use them and learn their quirks. You have to accept it and find ways around it, and I think that's where we are now with it.
Yeah, I must say I have here for at the start, I think, "Oh, cool, I use Copilot, on PowerPoint," and then it gives me all yeah, it was like Clippy. It says, "Ah, you click there, click there," and I was so unhappy with Copilot and then PowerPoint, so I never have
This
PowerPoint
is
since
what I was
I don't
talking
know.
about earlier, like, a lot of people
Yeah.
used it in the beginning and were like, thumbs down, and then just never came back to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this was really frustrating. Um Eh, can you say or what's your tip for people they will become an AI professional? What's the main tip you can give them?
Keep up. That's kind of what I think. I think it's here to stay, obviously. It's not going away and it's changing really quickly. And I think part of what we do and, just learning on LinkedIn and learning is just keeping up because if you get far behind, it's so hard, and now even if you really want to practice AI at the same time, like a great thing to do is to build yourself agents and find mechanisms to use AI to keep you informed about what's new with AI, right? So that's like a great exercise in using it to build yourself something to do that. But I think the biggest thing is just keep up, find out what's new, what it's doing, where it's integrated. You're hearing all these words, right? And even me, like I remember when Claude came out, I was like, I don't know what this word is, Claude, that everybody's talking about. Sounds really important. I'm gonna go see what it's all about. that's just what it's all about. You gotta learn, like, the what's sticking, and that's what you need to learn, you know?
Yeah, 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 yeah. I think that that's yeah, really important. What did you think? You say you don't use really Copilot for writing your post and so on. Did you think the writing skill of for people become a more important skill, or is it a less important skill with AI?
I think And yeah, I think that's the $1,000,000 question right now. I think this is what's happening because it's easy for us as older people. We have that baseline, right? So one of the things, this is kind of a two-parter. So the first thing is I always say, use AI for the things that you don't like doing. Right? You don't have to use AI for everything. If there's something you enjoy doing, then please keep doing it. Obviously, use AI for the things you hate or you don't have time for, and that's what it's great in. I personally love writing. I always have, and sometimes it's not professional. So 100% I'll use AI to help me polish it sometimes, right? But I have that baseline of existing writing. So if I wanted to, I could teach Copilot, this is how I write. Like my writing's all over the place in various forms, blog entries, fiction, things like that, books. So it's easy to train Copilot, just like for all of us who are older, right? We can feed it all of our old things and say like, write like me. Where I think it's going to be way more challenging is for younger people coming forward who don't have that baseline writing. So they don't know what their writing style is, right? And maybe we might even get to a point where they just don't have one. Which would be a big shame, obviously. But this is where we're getting into that gray area where, okay, it's all kinda starting to sound the same on LinkedIn, you gotta stand out, you gotta have a voice. So, what I would tell people is have a voice, if you don't know what your writing voice is, you gotta do it, you gotta find out what it is. And it may even be that in the future, we're not teaching it our voice by showing it our old writings, but instead we're describing it, right? This is my voice. This is what I want it to be. And I think that's where we're going, right? I want to be friendly yet confident. I want to be quirky. I want to use we're going to have to start teaching how we want our voice to be, and that's how it's going to stand out.
Mm,
What I think is
mm,
going to happen.
um, yeah, that's really interesting. I think a little bit about um the yeah, I think how you as teacher, you get all this information. We say it before, but how did you, yeah, I don't know, cluster it, or uh, how did you not become overwhelmed with all this informations Microsoft dropped and all the other companies like Claude and so on?
I am constantly overwhelmed with it. So that your question is invalid because there is no way there is like no timeline in which I'm not completely overwhelmed by all the new things. And I honestly think that this is something that I've been meaning to even bring up on LinkedIn is how do we as trainers deal with just burnout, trying to catch up, trying to keep up, trying to update our courses. And we're kind of getting into crisis mode, I kind of feel like, it is hard, um, constantly updating, constantly feeling like you're behind. So, we can make these things easier, like I was saying, like, build yourself the tools to get the new features to you quickly. So you don't have to go out looking for them, have them come to you, like, create an agent to tell you what's new. Um Instead of watching Netflix, watch YouTube videos on what's new, that's kind of my life now, and I think it'll be interesting to see if that ever slows down, if it ever changes. Is this sustainable? I don't know, like, that's really where I am right now. This is kind of like the $1,000,000 question for me right now is how do I deal with this and grow? And that's partly why I was just saying I need an intern, I'm getting ready to grow and scale and hire somebody, and then maybe they can help me with that, so
Yeah,
it is a crisis right now.
that thing. When we think about Copilot, and yeah, you can make it better in one thing. So I say, Satya Nadella comes and say, "Hey, Jess, you get all the money and the resources you need to make Copilot a better product or build a better feature. What will you do to make it better?"
Ooh, I like that. I like that. I would say okay, I would say to stop kinda slow down the changes, but I would probably create more of a unified approach to everything, right? Because right now, everything is everywhere. You know, I would I would love it if there was just ways to customize, give me one app that's, like, customized Copilot, and you can just go in and set everything right there. I think there's too many things all over the place, and I think it's really confusing, and from the admin side, admin settings are just everywhere, and from the update side, from the here's what's new side, I think things are, again, just everywhere. I would love just to see everything just consolidated into less places, and I think that would be life changing.
um, let's just jump in the rapid fire round. I asked some questions and you give a short answer. One Microsoft 365 feature everyone should start using tomorrow.
Ooh, a Microsoft 365 feature. I would say, this is still kind of Copilot, but I love the Create feature. I think that it's amazing. You can just create everything in the Create tool. You can do, like, graphics, infographics, surveys, forms. I love it. I tell everybody to use it.
What's the most underrated Copilot capability?
Saved prompts, I think. If I had to, this is rapid fire, so it's just kinda a lot of people don't know about it. A lot of people will just kinda do the same thing over and over again. It's like, just save it and reuse it. And it's kind of buried. I think it's too buried for how powerful it is.
If Copilot become I say a person you can meet anywhere, what will you do with them?
I would I would create, like, the physical embodiment, like, I would get a rock and put googly eyes on him, so I'm actually talking to somebody. They always say, like, "Don't promorphize things." I would be like, "Nope, I'm all for it. I'm naming it, and I'm putting googly eyes on it." That's what I would do.
What's the most overrated AI trend?
Um, the most overrated AI trend. Ooh, that's a good one. See, I'm a writer, so I'm still gonna say, like, using it to write your LinkedIn posts. I don't like that. I don't like that.
Yeah, you say you are a nerd girl. Why not a geek?
So, this actually goes back to my Lotus Notes days. We had, all us girls, and I think it's just because, you know, the vocal structure of it just worked better, nerd girl. We all had, back then, there just wasn't a lot of women in tech still, so we would do panels, and it would be like a panel of all the nerd girls, and I was very honored to sometimes be on those panels. And they were still great to be in the audience watching them, and we would just talk about, what it meant to be a woman in the technology field and what was changing and how we felt about things. And so over time, I was just kind of evolved into nerd girl Jess, and then when I got laid off from LinkedIn Learning and then went off on my own, I was like, "You know what? I'm just gonna take this, like, I've been using Nerd Girl Jess for a while. I'm just gonna take it and run with it." And then even a couple of months ago, I finally decided to actually trademark it and form an LLC. So it was just kind of one of those things that it has a very fond history of these amazing women that I used to do panels with and that I'm still friends with. So
Mm. Um, Coffee, tea, or energy during trainings?
coffee all the way, all the way. Even though I am my mother, so I have my heritage is English, but I'm not a tea drinker, I'm a coffee drinker, and I'm very jealous of people that can drink coffee all day because I cannot do that. I would if I could, 100%.
What's the best thing to be a Microsoft MVP?
I'm so excited. I'm excited about getting to meet and hang out with other MVPs. That's the one thing. So I've worked at home for 25 years and I've worked by myself for 25 years. I've talked to myself, and my animals all day long and my fictional characters that I use for training purposes. So I'm super excited to actually have other people to talk with and bounce ideas off of and hear their thoughts about things. Like, I'm so excited for that.
If you meet your younger Jess, I think let's say for 20 years, what will she most exciting about your self today?
Ooh, probably, I'm more confident. I'm a lot more confident. And I may not have everything together at all on the inside, but I feel like I'm better about at least projecting that outwardly that I kind of look like I know what I'm doing a little bit. So I think definitely a confidence level. And that's something that I think just comes from everybody when you get older. You're just more experienced and you're more sure of yourself. And feel that young women especially need that. So hopefully they can get some.
If you um, say one book to understand AI without AI in it, what book should people read?
Ooh, one book to understand AI without AI in it?
Uh,
Huh. Um, I am going to say it's one of my favorite books, The Phantom Tollbooth, because it's all about, it's about a little boy who's, facing depression. And so he comes along and this toll booth helps him just appreciate life, right? Everything, the sounds, the sights, the colors, the smells, so it's great for describing things. It's a great if you were gonna tell an AI about, "Okay, this is our world and this is what makes it amazing," that's the book to teach it.
Yeah, so yeah, thank you for being my guest today. Then my closing question is: if listeners remember only one lesson from today's session, what should it be?
Ooh, if we remember, I feel like it's important for companies to really, do adoption right. Do right, get everybody excited about Copilot, get that departmental training, build that prompt gallery by department that your company can use to get some actual, like, wins so that they can feel successful in their own job right now. That's what it would be. 100 yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So yeah, I say yeah, thank you for joining me today. And yeah, the listeners find all the informations and links in the show notes on the podcast side. From you. And yeah, I think this conversation made yeah, one thing very clear for me. It's not about write the perfect prompt. It's yeah, building better habits, providing better context, and making I work the way you work, not the like it's work. So yeah, if you like to learn more from Jess book, also you find it in the show notes. So yeah, thank you for being here, and thank you for listening. Thank you. Bye, Jess.
Thanks for having me. Thanks so much. Bye, everybody.